Everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm doing good. Another work weekend in the books. Done. Finito. Finished. Thank goodness. I'm doing this little video because it's a follow up to one that I did a couple days ago about ghost. It was in my video about how I don't believe in dinosaurs, but I do believe in spirits. I wanted to add a little bit to the video that I made. And it was in regards to animals and how they can sense spirits. I totally forgot to add this little tidbit about some activity that I've noticed in my new apartment and my cat. I have a cat named Jammer, and he's a male. He's 8 years old, and I noticed that there was a couple little activities that were going on that I thought were a little bit odd, and I wanted to add to it. And I was thinking about it because I was messaging back and forth with someone, and we were talking about how animals can sense spirits and certain things. Animals are very intuitive if you don't know. I'm sure it's something you could Google and look up, but I don't think you really need to look it up to realize that animals are very in tune with everything. And I'm sure all of us from time to time have noticed that animals can sense things before they happen. You read about things all the time about how dogs can realize that someone's having a seizure before they actually have one, and how well they are and helpful they are with helping people with medical needs and emotional needs. I know emotional animals are so popular right now, and not just dogs, cats, kangaroos, rabbits, any kind of animal you can think of. But the story I want to tell briefly today is about my cat, Jammer. Um, we moved in a while ago, and there were a couple instances where there's a certain corner in the apartment where my cat has his litter box and his food. And so he spends a lot of time in this corner. But we noticed from time to time that Jammer would stare up at the ceiling in this one particular spot, and he would meow. Now, I should preface this by saying that Jammer is a very vocal cat. He likes to meow a lot. He doesn't like to be left alone in a room. He's very much my little shadow. Every time I leave, he follows me. If I go to the bathroom, he follows me. He's very, very talkative. But it was just seemed really out of sorts for him to spend a lot of time in this corner meowing. And he's not meowing for food. He's not meowing for his cat box or anything. He's always staring at the ceiling in this one particular spot in the apartment, no other spot, and he finds himself staring up at the ceiling and meowing at this particular spot. So Mike and I had bantered back and forth about why is it that he's always staring at this spot. So I had jokingly had said, maybe there's a ghost. And so, I love making videos outside, but it always seems like the bugs always follow me when I'm out here. Well, anyway, so one night we were sitting in the living room and Jammer was doing it, and I decided that I would try to take some pictures of where Jammer was meowing. So I brought out my phone and I started snapping pictures, and I was looking and I didn't notice anything. So I decided I would turn the lights off in the room, and it was late at night, and there were no other lights in the room, and I started snapping photos, and I got done taking the photos. I stopped. I started looking at them back, and a few of them were just plain. I could just see Jammer looking up at the ceiling and meowing. And then I noticed that he was doing some movement when I took a video, and he was moving around in this particular corner and meowing. So I took the video, and I noticed that there was a beam of light. Again, the room was completely dark. There was no flash going on because it was video. There was no light coming from my camera. And so I stopped the video, and then I decided to take a photo. And when I took the photo, I looked back at it, and right near his little nose, almost reaching down right at him, was a beam of light. I don't know where it came from. We have very high windows that are high up on the wall, so I don't have a street light on that side. There's just the side of the house, and there are no street signs or street lights, so it was no light that was coming from outside. And Jammer was right next to it, almost like the light was petting him. And I was a little taken back by it, and I showed it to Mike, and lo and behold, he saw it as well. And it's funny that I noticed it because I had totally forgotten that a couple weeks before then, I have this like a little crystal ball, and it sits on a battery operated platform, and you can turn it on, and you have to press a button, and it has ocean sounds, and it has lights that you can press that can stay like a steady light, or you can make a kaleidoscope of colors. It's really pretty, actually, and I don't use it much. And when we moved, I put all my knickknacks out, and I put this on this corner shelf where I put my plants. I have a couple spider plants that I have there. Well, anyway, one night when we went to bed, I had gotten up to get a glass of water. And when I got up and I walked out to the kitchen, I could go see right into my living room. And when I looked into my living room, I noticed a light. And when I looked, I couldn't figure out where the light was from. All the lights were off. It wasn't the street light from outside. Mike was sound asleep. All the lights were off. The television was off. And I noticed there was a green glow. And when I looked, it was the light right above the crystal ball. Somehow, it had turned on, and it was reflecting a kaleidoscope of colors. Now, this is something that is never touched, never turned on. Mike really isn't into these kind of things, so I know it's nothing he touched. It just sits on this shelf. The only time I'm near it is when I water my plants. I water my plants during the day, so there'd be no need for me to turn it on to have the lights on, because it would be wasteful in the day because you wouldn't see the lights going on. Anyway, I hadn't been near that thing. I hadn't turned it on ever since I moved. I just placed it out. I wasn't even aware there were batteries in it. So I thought it was odd, and I went over and I turned it off. And when I turned it off, I was a bit shocked that it was on, and I thought, did Mike put that on? But he was sound asleep. So I went over, turned it off, flipped it upside down to even check and see if there were batteries. There were batteries, which thank goodness, because had there not been any batteries, I would have thought it was really strange. But it was so odd to me that that had turned on all of a sudden, out of nowhere. There is no explanation why it was on, who turned it on. It certainly wasn't me. It certainly wasn't Michael. I did ask him about it the next day. I told him about it. He seemed puzzled by it. He didn't even know that it was there. I had to physically show it to him. You know how men are sometimes. You have to physically bring something right to them to make them aware of things. And he was like, oh, yeah. And his first comment to me was, you still have that? So I knew it wasn't him. I told him what happened, and he thought, wow, that's strange. And he had said that he had noticed that he had turned a light off in the living room, and he had gotten up to go to the restroom, and the light was on. And he had asked me, oh, were you in the, I'm sorry, there was someone very rude that purposely revved their engine in front of me. He had asked me, were you up earlier than me? Did you forget to turn the light on? Now, anyone that knows me knows that I like it dark, and I like to conserve energy. And I said, no, I didn't turn the light on. And he said, oh, that's strange, because the other day when I got up to use the restroom, all the lights were off when we went to bed, but when I got up, the light was on. So I just turned it off. I figured it was you, and I didn't think about it. Well, it turned out that 2 days later, that's when I found the crystal ball was lit up. And then a couple weeks later, Jammer had his incident where I caught it on camera, where he was being petted or very close to this ray of light that came from the sky. So I'm not too sure what was going on, but I did forget to add that in my other video. And I do know that animals are very intuitive when it comes to things like that. And I was having such a good time telling the stories about what's been going on um, with believing in spirits and that. So I wanted to add that in. And I still encourage all of you that may be watching this, if you want to share any of your stories of supernatural or paranormal incidences, please leave them in the comments below. I'm really interested in all of your stories and your experiences. I find them very interesting, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. And even if you don't leave a comment, thank you for taking the time to watch this. And I hope this video finds you well, like all my videos. And until I talk to you next time, take care. I'm sorry for the lighting. I think we're going to get a storm, so I wanted to sit outside and just wait for the first raindrops. So I'm glad I got this video out before it started to rain. And take care. And until I talk to you again, be well. Bye.